What's going on, fishy friends? Rich here, Rich's Fishes, and I think it's time for a fish room tour. So this has to be the third or fourth time I'm shooting this video now. I've had a lot of audio issues and I upgraded to a new microphone. So hopefully this sounds a lot better than some of the other ones. But I wanted to take a walk around, show everybody what's going on. I got a whole lot of tanks in the fish room. Most of them have inhabitants. They're almost all full of water. There's a couple empty tanks right now waiting for fish. There's a few other empty tanks waiting to be set up for the very first time in this fish room. Maybe that's a lie. Maybe not to be set up for the very first time, but they're currently empty. I moved them to a different location and never had a chance to fill them up yet. So a lot of tanks have fish, some don't. Let's walk around and see what's what. So if we start over here on this end of the room, this is the tank I was just standing next to, which is currently full of angelfish. There are a lot of angelfish in the room. As I've mentioned, there was a period of time when I was a bit neglectful down here, but the angelfish have been breeding for a long time, and as such, there are many, many tanks full of angelfish currently, including this 40 breeder. But I was standing in the back corner here, looking down. I've got these curtains covering some of the other tanks right now just to help on the glare for while I was filming this tank. This is tank number 13 as far as the labels go, and as part of my automatic water change system, system B12. I'll discuss all that one day in another video. But this is a 40 breeder, full pool filter sand as a substrate. There is a bunch of Anubias and a lot of Java moss. There's a couple of crypts. There's a pair of super red bristlenose plecos that are not breeding, but they're in there. There's one old angelfish who doesn't look so great, but the rest look good. And behind all that Java moss is a volcano kind of shape with some stonework and some driftwood and stuff like that. And below this tank is an empty 40-gallon breeder that hasn't been cleaned in a while. There's a whole ton of algae that I scraped off but never removed. This tank right now is in a temporary state. Sometimes I hatch angelfish or German blue egg rams.
What did you say?
In this tank, I'll use the dip and pour containers and float them inside for temperature control, but there are no inhabitants in the tank currently. So I put the curtains up here in a long time ago to help cut down on glare when I'm filming this tank and or filming these tanks. This white back curtain doesn't do a great job. Black on the other side, that does a better job. Like I said, I just put these up here a couple of minutes ago just to cut back on some of the glare, and now I'm gonna take them down, move them back into their at-rest position. As we look back this way, everything's kind of dark. I have various timers, smart plugs I guess now, not timers anymore, that turn on various different lights at different times of the day. And I kind of go through two phases of light. Early in the day, starting at about 7 in the morning, the lights turn on as you see currently. And these are my, I guess we'll call them my supplemental lights. These are under cabinet LED lights that I've installed in various places. Looks like this strip right here. There's another one down here. Kind of see it's a very thin little LED light bar that I've added to the fish room as supplemental lighting earlier in the day. So for the first half of the day, these lights are on, and then the actual aquarium lights turn on later. They run together for a little while before then the under cabinet lights turn off and just the aquarium lights are on for a little while. But back here it's very dark. There is a 10-gallon tank back here that has some red cherry shrimp. I'll show that when the lights are on later.
You're a liar!
Next to it is a 55-gallon tank that has been up and running for a very, very, very long time. This might be the longest continually running tank I have in the room currently. Planted 55-gallon tank with some angelfish doing angelfish things. This has essentially been a set it and forget it tank for a very, very long time. These crypts have been planted in here for years. There's an Amazon sword in here that never really took off, but it's alive. There used to be a really large group of rummy-nosed tetra. There's a small handful of them in here now. Not sure if we can make them out on the bottom of the tank there. Where'd they go? There's one. I had a real big school. These have been in here for a long time and they've dwindled. I'd like to add some more rummy-nosed tetra. It's also a whole ton of Malaysian trumpet snails. You can probably see them on the back glass there. Some of the angelfish will breed on this piece of driftwood over here sometimes. I'll show this tank when the lights are on and hopefully be able to see it a little better. Below that is another 55-gallon tank where Java moss has run rampant. I got a full carpet essentially of Java moss in this tank, and I'll harvest out of here once in a while to take Java moss and put it into other tanks. But again, there's a few angelfish in here. There's a Bosemani rainbow. I've got other rainbow fish in other parts of the room that I want to add into this tank later. Those other rainbow fish have been kind of sitting in a small quarantine status for a couple of months now. They're well past quarantine status and can move into another tank. I just haven't actually done it yet. Got two 5-gallon tanks here. I was going to try to do a cardinal tetra breeding program. I set it up with the intentions of doing that, and I just haven't had the time to follow through with it. There are 5 cardinal tetras back there that you can't see too well in the dark, but I set up these two tanks with the plans of keeping them in this one over here where an egg trap kind of thing is on the bottom. And maybe one day I'll try that project again and see if we can't make that happen. Over here is a 20 high on end that has nothing in it. There used to be some angelfish and there were some discus in this tank a while ago, I believe. Right now there's nothing. I'm gonna move something in here shortly. Next to it is another 20 high on end. There was a breeding pair of angelfish in here. There's currently a single fish because the other one decided it wanted to be free, jumped out of the tank, and I found it on the floor not too long ago. Are you kidding me? There's even a partial lid on the tank. Come on. Oh, that sucks. And unfortunately, it was already too late to potentially save it. So now there's a single angelfish in this one. Next to it, another 20 high on end with another breeding pair of angelfish. These two fish, although they don't have a lot of color on their bodies and there's not much black, the fry that they produce seem to be much more marbled than some of my other fish in the room. And I'm not exactly sure why that could be the case. But it's a 20 high on end with a pair of angelfish. To the left of that is a 40 breeder, bare bottom, a couple of different angelfish that have been growing out for a while. They're well past grow out stage now. I'm not sure why I would say they're grow out still. See, this guy right here, this is an issue that I've seen on various different angelfish in my fish room, and I'm not exactly sure why. This kind of lip growth happens on a couple of them. From my research, it's potentially a virus that causes this. I'm not sure how to maybe get rid of it. What ends up happening is those growths keep growing to the point where the fish eventually can't eat. Right now, this one's relatively healthy other than these, I don't know, tumors growing off its face, we'll call it.
It's not a tumor.
I'm not sure what I could potentially do about that, what the cause of it is. If anybody knows, drop me a comment below. Let me know what's going on there.
It's not a tumor at all.
I believe this is a 30-gallon tank. It's kind of an odd-shaped, not odd-shaped, but odd-sized tank. This tank has the strongest light in the room. It's not on currently, but there's a Phoenix. I'm not even sure what kind of light it is. A Fuge Ray, I think it was called. Very old, but it's the brightest light in the room. In this tank, it's a lot of algae on the glass. You can also see reflections from some of the other tanks behind me. And below that is another 40 breeder that has some of my African cichlids in it. These African cichlids I've had for a long time. They were in a tank I had set up at my old office. Once my office closed down, I moved them to a tank in my living room, and then once I shut down the tank in the living room, I brought the few African cichlids that were left into this tank down here, which is a 40 breeder that has some odd stone. I'm not even sure where I originally got it, and some pieces of driftwood. It's not an ideal setup for African cichlids. They were much happier a sand bottom tank with some stonework for them and things like that. But they've been doing okay in here. There's also a couple of black skirt tetras, and I believe there's some skunk loaches in here somewhere too. Next to that is a 72 bow front planted with, surprise, surprise, some more angelfish. Let's see if we can't show this with the lights on later. There are also some Pristilla tetras in here that I got from a local fish store recently. They have dwindled in numbers. I don't remember how many I originally started with. Not all that many, only 8 or 10 or something like that, but I think there's only 5 or 6 in here now. And I've never been too happy with anything that I picked up from that particular local fish store. I'm not sure why I keep going back there. But that wraps up this wall. So now if we turn around, over here we've got a rimless, I believe this is a 17-gallon Mr. Aqua tank. Can't see anything right now. Might as well be invisible. Come back here when the lights are on later. This is that 17-gallon tank that also has red cherry shrimp in it. This was dark earlier. This is a rimless 17-gallon tank with a bunch of Java moss. Somehow recently duckweed showed up in here. I thought I fully eradicated duckweed from my entire fish room years ago, but I don't even recall putting anything new into this tank, so I'm not sure where that duckweed came from. But I just started noticing it the other day, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more soon if I don't pull it out completely. Maybe I'll let it go in here this time. Below that, 2 10-gallon tanks. Each has a pair of German blue rams that are breeding for me. This pair on the left was breeding pretty prolifically when they were in a bare bottom tank. I ended up moving those tanks a couple of weeks ago. It was part of that rehabilitation process I did where I moved tanks frontwards to backwards and changed the bulkheads because I had cracked one. They got moved out of their bare bottom tank that was on that side of the fish room and put into here in this sanded tank. Sanded tank? Not sure if that's a verb. They got put into here in this tank with sand on the bottom, and they haven't been showing any breeding activity since. I think I might have actually gotten one spawn from them, but it's been a little while. It's been almost 2 months and I haven't seen anything from them, and I'm not too sure why. Similarly, this pair next to them is a pair that naturally formed in my room. This is a pair of rams that formed from a much larger group. They naturally bonded. I pulled them out and put them in this tank, and they've been breeding pretty regularly for me. I have some fry around the corner on the other side of the room from them. They're probably about due to breed again in the next 3 to 4 days, I would say. But they're in a 10-gallon tank with a sand bottom. I don't typically keep my breeding pairs in anything but bare bottom tanks, but I popped them in here just to see if they were encouraged at all to maybe dig a pit in the sands and try laying eggs there or not, see if it increased any of their breeding activity. They don't seem too interested. They did maybe dig a little pit here under this piece of driftwood, but they've never tried laying eggs for it. They always go back to the saucer and lay eggs. I have a second saucer in there that you can't see in the dark, but they always choose this one up front. Contrary to what I see online, people say they need something dark, a dark stone to lay eggs on. They always lay eggs on these terracotta pots in my fish room, and I believe the other choice in the tank is a black saucer of the same size, and they choose the terracotta colored one up front anyway. So I think that's what I'm sticking with in the future. Those are what they seem to like. Below that's another 2 10-gallon tanks. This has rice fish in it. I've never kept rice fish before. These are Medaka Red Glitter rice fish, I think. Red King Glitter Medaka rice fish. That's what they were sold to me as. Plan is to get these guys out into a pond in the backyard soon. I just haven't had time to finish setting up my outdoor stuff. I've got some new ponds and things like that I'm going to be using this year, and we'll have to set that up before we can get the fish out there. Next to that is another 10-gallon tank. Has nothing in it. Had some guppies a little while ago. I might try to keep some guppies again in the somewhat near future. We'll see. But this is dirty. I haven't cleaned it because there's nothing in it. It runs an under gravel filter. Not much to talk about there. All these tanks have bulkheads head drilled in them, and they drain down here into this central sump system, which then gets pumped out into my sink. And if we keep moving around the corner, this is a 12-gallon long with red cherry shrimp. Need some lights on. This is a group of red cherry shrimp I've had for quite a while. I got it locally from someone here on Long Island. I believe this was, I think I found these guys on Craigslist actually. I'm not sure how long the colony's been up and running for. 2-3 years maybe. Just the corner where I usually feed, so they're usually more congregated over here on this side. Another 12-gallon long with red cherry shrimp. Still need some lights on. This began showing signs of an infestation of something. I thought it was scuds or planaria or something. I'm not exactly sure what it is still, but I don't believe that they're harmful to the shrimp. You can see them bouncing around a little bit there, but they're kind of on the glass, and the population of them exploded, and it worried me, so I started pulling more and more shrimp out of this tank and putting them into other spots in the fish room. It's a 20 long that houses some of my lonely male rams that used to be part of a breeding pair. There's currently 2 males in here, and we'll take a look at them when the lights are on later. Next to them is another male ram that I purchased from a local fish store who has never looked great. I haven't wanted to put him with a female. He's staying up here by himself for a little while. Got a weird, I don't know if that's the beginning, a hole in the head there. That thing on the front of him hasn't changed size or shape in a long time, but it's there and it worries me. Next to that is another empty 10-gallon tank waiting for something to go into it later. This is a 60-gallon tank with some angelfish. One of my earliest successful spawns of angelfish have lived in this tank for a really long time. Various different pairs have come out of here. Adults have been sold out of here. So there's only a handful left, maybe 8 or 10 fish, waiting to see if anybody else pairs up. And like I said, these were some of the first successfully bred angelfish in the room. They've been in here for a while, and they'll keep living out their best life here. Next to it this way is a 20 high. There was a group of electric blue rams in here. Well, there still is, but the group, I've pulled out 2 potential breeding pairs. There's 3 fish left in this tank right now. 2 of them looked like they wanted to pair up, but then when I moved them into their own tank, they were no longer interested in each other. So they're back in here. I'm hoping to get 1 more pair to form, which will then leave 1 fish as the odd man out, but we'll deal with that as it comes. Next to them is another 20 high where a group of German blue rams were growing out. As I said before, I had a group and I pulled out a breeding pair. This is the remaining fish from that group, and hopefully I get at least 1 more breeding pair out of them. They're in a 20 high. I'm trying to matin filter on this tank, which I really, really like. I think I'd like to switch some of my sponge filters in the room over for matin filters as time goes on. Below them is a 55-gallon bare bottom tank where I was growing out some discus. There's only 2 left from the group. They were both bred in the room and born in the room. They're obviously a pigeon blood. They were, I forget the 2 strains that bred. Those fish, the parent fish, are no longer in the room. They have since passed. One of them is very tiny. They're both the same exact age. They were part of the same spawn. This guy doesn't look so bad. Definitely not a show-winning discus though, that's for sure. And these are the only 2 discus left in the room. I used to have a lot more. This guy over here has always been very small and stunted, and I'm convinced that there's always 1 fish out of every group of discus that becomes the runt of the litter, the stunted little guy. And here he is. He survived, but he never grew too big. And that's it in that bare bottom 55. And then next to that, we had the 60-gallon angelfish tank here, and then below it is a 75-gallon angelfish tank with more of one of the earliest spawns that I was successful with in the room. There's also a breeding pair that is sectioned off over here, and they breed pretty often for me, pretty regularly. They're just about due to have another spawn, and some of their fry are behind me in the back of the room. These are the two 10-gallon tanks we talked about a little while ago. Below it, 220 highs on end. There's a group of black German rams in here. German black rams, black night rams, midnight rams. Everybody's got names for them. As far as I'm concerned, these are just black rams. Waiting for a pair to form out of here. They're starting to show a little bit of breeding activity, but nobody seems to have fully paired up yet. And these black rams, boy, they are so much more aggressive than any other of the rams I've ever kept. Hopefully we get at least 1 or 2 pairs out of this. I'd really like to see some spawns happen from these guys. Next to them, here's some of the angelfish that I am currently selling on Aquabid. I can tell you guys have not been going to Aquabid. Go check out my listings, buy some fish. I sold some to the local fish store, sold some to some people personally. It's a few left from this first batch still, and there's many more batches growing out. Below them is a 29-gallon tank. Has some longfin zebra danios and some rainbow fish. These are the rainbow fish that I talked about over around the corner on the other side of the room, and I want to get them moved over shortly into that tank, and we'll be doing so soon. Then if we come this way, up top here is a 20 long with a big school of cardinal tetras. Cardinal tetras have to be one of my favorite fish. I just love the contrast to these fish. The colors on them are always beautiful, especially against a dark background and some green plants. There's also some Apistogramma cockatoides in this tank. They're two, it's one male and a female. I wouldn't call them a pair yet, there's also one non-cardinal tetra. I forgot about that. When I got this group of cardinal tetras from a local fish store, this guy came in, which I thought was a Pristilla tetra, but it's not. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I got him very small, and you almost couldn't tell that this one wasn't a cardinal to begin with, but he's the lone single non-cardinal tetra in the tank. He kind of schools with the cardinals, interestingly enough. But the Apistogramma are hiding. They're very dull. It's not the nicest male, at least. The females are always a little dull colored, but the male is really not all that nicely colored. This pair came from a local fish store that I used to frequent a lot that has since closed for apparently some odd reasons. If anybody's local to the Long Island area, maybe you know who I mean. Love to hear any stories you have about them. They had some nice fish, but they are no more. And then below it, we got a various group of 10-gallon tanks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there's room for 9 down there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
There's a pair of German blue rams in here. Ever since I got these fish, the female has looked very, very skinny. I am treating them again with some medicated foods because I'm not sure if she's just getting bullied by the male or if there might be something wrong. But I've had the fish for a long time. They've not showed any breeding activity whatsoever, which is a shame. Hopefully they'll start soon. Next to them is 2 electric blue rams that I pulled out of that group I was showing before. They have paired up and started spawning for me. I'm waiting for another successful spawn from them, hopefully shortly. Next to them is another 10-gallon tank with some Apistogramma honxiloi that you can't see right now. The male in this tank is beautiful. There's 2 really good-looking males and 1 female. These fish are getting old, and I haven't seen a spawn from them in a very long time. I had these in here for years and years and years. I had a few successful spawns a long time ago, and I wish I had kept better care of those fish and the spawns, because these are the only 2 or 3 that are left, and I'd love to see them breed, but I think they're getting too old. If we go below that, we've got a 10-gallon tank where I'm breeding some bristlenose plecos. These guys are in a breeder box hanging on the back of the tank. There are a couple of albino bristlenose in here, a couple of regular, 1 pair of breeding albino, 1 pair of regular bristlenose that have not yet bred for me, and some various juveniles, as well as the newest batch of fry that the male just kicked out of the cave that's swimming around the tank. I did not catch them and put them in the breeder box. Next to that is another pair of electric blue rams that came out of the clutch behind me, or the group behind me, that naturally paired off. They have also been showing some signs of breeding activity, but have not yet bred for me. Wow, this fish looks really different on camera than it does in real life. In real life, it looks much more blue. It's a good looking fish. But again, these are the terracotta saucers that I like to use. They seem to choose these to breed on. Now next to them is a pair of gold rams that I got from a local fish store. You don't see too many gold rams anymore that don't come from a line of black rams, and I was really hopeful that these 2, they came from a group of 3 fish. These 2 looked like they were pairing off, but they've been in this tank together for a long time, and now I'm a little concerned that I'm looking at 2 males. Every once in a while, they show some signs that they might be getting interested in breeding, so maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. It'd be really nice if they could start breeding for me. I'd be very happy about that. And then in the back corner of the room is my fry rack. A little difficult to see with only the early daytime lights on, but if we come over here, we can look in the dip and pour container where my newest batch of free swimming German blue ram fry are currently. Next to them is a slightly older batch of free swimming fry from some of the German blue rams. This one's empty. This one's empty. This one has some angelfish that are growing out currently. This one has 2 angelfish in it that grew much larger than some of the others. Show all this with the lights on again later. Here's one group of German blue ram. I'm not even going to call them fry anymore. These are young adolescents that are ready to get moved. Angelfish that are ready to get moved. German blue rams that are ready to get moved. We got angelfish wigglers over here and more angelfish that are ready to get moved over here. So let's see, once the lights turn on, I'll show a little more of this. Here's some of those empty tanks I was talking about earlier. 1, 3, back corner of the fish room, back corner of the basement, behind the furnace and everything. Really difficult to get back here, but these tanks will have to get filled up shortly so I can put some fish in them. All right, we'll see if any of this stuff looks different with the lights on. Otherwise, I think that's about it. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe. Check out my fish on Aquabid, and I'll see you guys in the next one.